What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So, UFC 276, the main event, Jared Cannonier, Israel Adesanya. You know, in a division where Israel Adesanya has lapped the division multiple times, even in some cases, Jared Cannonier is a nice new face, and he's somebody that Izzy has actually been shining up for a while, saying, hey, keep getting some wins because I want to fight you one day.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of respect between these two opponents, and Izzy will sell this fight well. You know, even if he respects somebody, he'll still throw a little shade, he'll still talk a little bit, and he'll have some fun with the person, even if he likes them. Jared, though, seems like quite a tough guy, both physically and emotionally.
Yeah.
Obviously, he came from the heavyweight division where he was a brute. He had tons of power, and he realized that he was just carrying way too much weight. He was a little too heavy. He probably shouldn't have been up there to begin with, but hey, that's where his life took him. And he seemed to make a drastic life change. He changed his whole diet. He changed his whole workout regimen. And he obviously, as people can tell, went from having one of the standard bodies in the UFC to maybe the best body in the entire UFC. You know, now that Yoel Romero's out of the picture, you don't find somebody as built as Jared Cannonier. So I think 185 is a perfect division for him physically. And I think he brought a lot of that power that he used to have up at heavyweight down with him, kind of similar to how Alex Volkanovski used to weigh 200 plus pounds and now he fights at 145, but he seems head and shoulders stronger than everybody else that's in his division.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because Israel knows deeply Alexander Volkanovski because they've trained together. They have a lot of overlap as far as coaching and stuff like that goes. And he actually compared Jared to Alex. He said when Alex used to weigh 200 pounds, he was this big, strong hoss of a guy. But when he trimmed the fat off, he didn't lose the strength in the process. And that's what I think makes this matchup really interesting. Israel said that this fight is going to be very similar to Paulo Costa. And while I do understand where he's coming from there, you're talking about a big, strong guy, but a person who's not as technical as Izzy and not as sharp as Izzy. I do see that this could be similar to the Costa fight, but I do see it different in a lot of ways. I do think Jared Cannonier is substantially stronger than Paulo Costa. I think that Jared Cannonier has developed his skill set over the last couple of years to be better than the skill set that Costa possesses. I certainly don't think Jared Cannonier is going to step into the octagon hungover because he got drunk the night before the fight. I think there's definitely some discrepancy as far as dedication and seriousness that this fight is being taken by Cannonier as compared to the Costa-Izzy fight. So I do think that it's going to be a much more difficult fight for Izzy than Costa. That being said, I do think Izzy can win this fight, and I think him being a 3-1 favorite is probably about right. But if you're a believer in Jared Cannonier, what you can point to give you some hope is the fact that Izzy does have problems sometimes with guys that are a lot stronger than him. You look at what happened with Jan Blachowicz. He was able to wrestle him down and hold him down. So we may see something where strength comes into play here. And if Jared can start to accumulate rounds by ground and pound, holding Izzy down, maybe even doing some damage down there, it could make things interesting. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, MMA is obviously a sport and it's a very physical endeavor, but the mental side is huge. And while I do understand why he says that this could be similar to the Costa fight, because Cannonier is a little bit of a stiff guy, kind of like Costa when it comes to the striking, he's not going to be anywhere near the same mental space that Costa was in. Costa was a total head case by the time he went out there. He was just trying to one punch, one kick, knock out Izzy. He was being rude, outlandish, and not landing anything, quite frankly. Jared Cannonier is going to come in there and respect the champ's skills. He's probably going to fight a very cautious fight and cerebral fight. And that's why I personally see this fight likely going the distance or going pretty close to the end of the fight. If there's a finish, Izzy's going to get it done. I don't see Cannonier having the skills to hang with him on the feet, but he is very tough. And I think Izzy's going to have a hard time knocking him out because he is so big. He is battle tested at heavyweight. He's clearly got a lot of strength and a chin on him. So I don't know if we're going to see a knockout, but we might see Izzy late in the fight catch him after he sort of dismantled him and broken him down, broken his will. We could see a finish, but I don't think a single strike, or I don't think, like how he took Bobby Knuckles out with a great hook and just sat him down. I don't see any of that sort of stuff happening. I think Jared Cannonier is still has the chin of a heavyweight, still has the strength of a heavyweight. We're going to see him be a pretty durable fighter for Izzy. But Izzy's the champ for a reason. I mean, he's doing things that almost nobody in the sport's ever done. Like you said, he's lapping the division just like Kamaru Usman's lapping the division. These guys are standout athletes, and I just think he's got way too many skills for Jared Cannonier to deal with, and I think it's going to be a tough night in the office for Jared Cannonier.
Yeah, and my final prediction is going to be exactly what you just said, Israel Adesanya by decision.
Yeah.
And there's two reasons why I say that. The first being that Israel Adesanya at this stage in his career doesn't need to prove anything to anybody. He's got enough knockouts to show that he has the ability to knock people out. But in the latter half of his career, he is more cautious. He is more cerebral. He makes you come to him. He makes you take risks and take chances. Otherwise, he'll just sit there and leg kick you and throw some punches in your face and do enough to accumulate and win rounds. And he's sort of earned the right to do that. And Jared Cannonier is a very cerebral, very cautious fighter. He's not just going to go out there and just try to throw everything at Izzy and try to just take him out in one punch like Costa was doing, like one punch here, one kick there, try to do something that just ends the fight instantaneously. I think that he's also going to be trying to implement his game plan. He's been working on some specific things to try to beat Izzy. And so I think you're going to get a good fight. I think it's going to be not the most exciting fight on the card, but I think from a technical standpoint, it's going to be very high level. And I think these two gentlemen are going to go out there and compete with the best skills that they have. And ultimately, I think Izzy's technique, precision, and accuracy is going to win over Cannonier's strength and size advantage.
Yeah, Izzy has sort of spoiled us, and it's a blessing and a curse because he came out and was putting people down left, right, and center. And then when he got to the title, he was still doing it, but it became one of those things where he was like, you know what, they're feeding me the toughest people in the world. I got to be smart about how I'm winning. And he's continued to win at 185, hasn't lost yet. But he just knows that he's got to be a little bit more cautious if he wants to continue to grow his legacy, become the GOAT. And, you know, those are the types of things he's trying to do now, not just become the champ. And that's why I see him as one of those guys that has gotten so many knockouts that people have grown accustomed to it. But now he's like just finishing people and basically having master classes of striking. That's not enough for the fans. They want to see these vicious Izzy KOs. They want to see him do some sort of crazy anime or cartoon character maneuvering like how he does after the fights. And I could never do those or showcase them, but he does some really cool stuff. He is absolutely the total package, and I think he's going to showcase a lot of skills as he always does. But Cannonier's a tough, durable guy, and that's why I also see it going decision, likely to Izzy. And I don't think it's going to be too close on the cards. 4-1, 3-2, 48-47, something like that.
This is going to be one of those rare occasions where we pick the exact same thing. 49-46. Jared Cannonier is going to steal one round, maybe the first round, while Izzy feels him out, and the rest of it's going to be all Adesanya once he downloads that data. Unless Jared makes some sort of grave mistake, this thing is going the distance. So Izzy by decision, my final pick.
Yep, we'll either win together or lose together, but this should be a fun one.
There we go. Guys, drop us a comment and let us know who you think is going to win this fight, Adesanya or can Cannonier pull the upset here. If you haven't already, we appreciate a subscribe to the channel and a thumbs up on this video. We'll see you in the next one.
Peace.